Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. Jackie Page from 93.9 at WKYS here. And I want to welcome you to our employer spotlight with the United States Capitol Police. So, as you can see, I have some great people joining me. So, I want to go ahead and introduce them. I have Chief Pittman. Chief Pittman, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining. Inspector Moore, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful as well. Thank you.
You are welcome. And I have Officer Barr. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having us.
Again, thank you all for just hopping on and really just kind of talking about what you do and everything that the United States Capitol Police has to offer. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and hop right into this. I want to know what your roles are. What do you do? So, Chief Pittman, I will start with you. Give us a little bit about your title and what you do.
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, Jackie, I just want to thank you for providing U.S. Capitol Police with this platform. We are profoundly honored and privileged to take on the responsibility of being the sole federal law enforcement agency that has the responsibility of protecting the legislative branch. So, the mission here at U.S. Capitol Police is to really provide safety and security for members of Congress, their staff, and to the millions of visitors that come to our nation's capital from all across the globe here in Washington, D.C. So we keep them safe, free from crime and any terrorist type of attacks.
Okay. Inspector Moore, can you tell us a little bit about your role and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Inspector Moore. I'm in charge of the background investigation, the recruiting and credentialing part of the department. And basically, my role there is to oversee the background investigation for all applicants when they come to apply for the department, as well as provide the recruitment to individuals that's interested in joining this great department.
Okay. Thank you very much. Officer Barr, tell us about your role and what you do.
Yes, ma'am. So I work directly under Inspector Moore with the Office of Background Investigations and Credentialing. My primary responsibility is to reach out to potential law enforcement candidates to inform them about the career paths and opportunities that we have with our agency. And to do this, I work with different universities, military organizations, and underrepresented groups. Our main goal is to ensure that the agency is as diverse as the community that we serve.
Okay. Thank you so much, each and every one of you, for explaining what you do. Chief Pittman and Inspector Moore, question because you are in law enforcement, and that's kind of something that you don't see when it comes to women in law enforcement. So tell me what it's like being a woman in law enforcement. Chief Pittman, I'll start with you.
Okay, well, thank you for the question. I'll give you a fun fact before I tell you what it's like for myself. Inspector Moore and I were promoted the first African American females ever to attain the rank of captain within this organization in 2012. So we made worldwide news and history for this agency. But I can tell you that women bring different qualities to the profession. We are compassionate, we're nurturers, and we innately feel a need to protect. When I look back over my law enforcement journey, I really think about a quote from Ellen Sirleaf Johnson. She was the first female president of Liberia. And one of the things she said was to all young women, the size of your dreams should always exceed your current capacity to achieve them. And if your dreams don't scare you, then you're not dreaming big enough. And that's how I feel about US Capitol Police. I never dreamed that I was going to be the acting chief of police after the January 6th insurrection that took place here on the Hill. But I know that we were an inspiration to young women and men all across the globe to see females, women lead in that capacity. So if folks out there that are listening are looking for a job that is iconic, historic, and welcomes diversity and inclusion, this is definitely the place for you.
I love it. Inspector Moore, what is it like being a woman in law enforcement?
Well, I would have to echo everything that Chief Pittman just said. I mean, I don't think anyone could have said it any better than that. But to add to the question, I think as far as women for our role in leadership right now, I think is needed. I would like the women to just think about we have paved the way for a lot of females that want to come on to law enforcement. We've opened the door for diversity on our agency. I just think, like she said, women are needed in so many capacities up for the department because we are, like she said, natural nurturers. So we want to see things to be done, handled right and correctly. So when you put that type of quality and those characteristic traits to a law enforcement department, it's only going to make the department succeed and move up and be a better department for the nation.
Absolutely. And I just want to remind our viewers that if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We will definitely get those answered for you. So just wanted to put out that reminder. Officer Barr, the United States Capitol Police is currently hiring. So can you highlight some of these positions?
Yeah, so the position that we're hiring for is our federal law enforcement position. So potential applicants can find this vacancy listed on our career site, as you see scrolling across the bottom as well. This vacancy announcement is geared toward the vast majority of individuals who may be interested in a federal law enforcement career with our agency. So it's important to keep in mind as well that previous law enforcement experience is not a requirement to come on for our federal police officer position. Now, all the other career opportunities and specialty assignments that our agency has to offer, those are presented to applicants or those are presented to officers once they clear their probationary period. For example, our dignitary protection division, which Chief Pittman oversees as well, that's our biggest specialty division. That's where a lot of young individuals come onto the department. They're not married yet, they don't have children yet, and they want to travel the country and the world protecting the members of congressional leadership. So that's an option that we have, as well as our CERT team, which is similar to a SWAT team. We have one of the top bomb squads in the country, K9 division, and the list goes on and on. So those are all opportunities that you have once you clear your probationary period. Our agency has done a couple exciting things recently this year as well. We added a transfer option. So this is an option that individuals who have previous law enforcement training and experience didn't originally have when applying for our agency. So now they can apply and have somewhat of an abbreviated process through our training and come on as a transfer, as well as a re-employed annuitant vacancy. So this was for recently retired uscp officers, as well as other federal officers who have recently retired. They also have an option to come on with a 4-year term limit and act as a law enforcement officer with our agency as well. And individuals who want more details about those specific announcements, as well as the specialty divisions that I mentioned, can contact the recruiting office, and we can go into deep detail about what's necessary to come on for those different vacancy announcements.
Thank you so much, Officer Barr. Inspector Moore, Officer Barr just mentioned some of the specialty positions, and we actually had somebody ask about the K9 unit. So what are some of the requirements for somebody applying for a specialty assignment?
So there isn't any type of requirement. You don't have to have any type of experience. Like he said, you have to be finished your probationary period. Once you finish your probationary period, you have all the opportunities to apply for any specialty assignment on the department. The department will train you, provide you with the training necessary to be successful in that particular unit.
Next question. If let's say I get into a unit and I decide that I want to switch units or maybe transfer, is there an option or a possibility for that?
Yeah, so we have a rotation. It's like a 6 months rotation where we give the officers the opportunity to put in transfer requests, just so officers have that particular opportunity to try to find their niche on the department and that career opportunity that they are really interested in.
Okay, sounds good. So next question from James is, does being an SPO for DC government count for the shortened training? Good question.
So I'll take that. So the new transfer program that we have, you would have to have graduated a accredited FLETC program or FLETA accredited federal law enforcement training program, and that's what that would be similar to what an MP would get in the military. So if you had the UPTP, which is Uniform Training Program under FLETC, the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, or another FLETA accredited academy, then you would be able to do that. But you have to be a current federal law enforcement officer as well. And that individual can reach out, as I said, to our recruiting office and speak to me directly. And I will go through what he does have and if he's eligible for that specific program.
Okay. Thank you for that. Since we're talking about, being hiring on, what does the hiring process look like?
So I'll take that question. So if you are interested in the position, basically you apply at the website listed below. You'll have to go through a numerous of pre-screening questions. Once you get through that particular portion of it, then you have a adjudication process. An investigator will contact you if they need additional information. Only thing I can stress is that when you get to that particular phase, when the investigator sends you a preliminary PHS, to send that information in as quick as possible, because that's going to speed up the process and make sure that the information on that preliminary history statement is accurate. Make sure that everything that they're requesting, that you actually provide that information. Once you get through that particular phase, then we'll send you out an online. We have a virtual, it's two parts of the examination phase that you don't have to come in person. That's going to be our online orientation. We'll send you a link for you to review that particular orientation. You have to click the link and certify that you reviewed the orientation to move on to the post-exam. You will be provided with the written examination. Again, that's done online. We'll schedule you that for that particular appointment. We get the results within a week's period. You'll be notified whether or not you have passed the post-exam or not. If you did not pass the post-exam, you will have to wait 90 days to retake it. If you do pass the post-exam, then we will start scheduling you for your examination phase. The examination phase includes your psychological exam, your polygraph, your medical, and I believe that's it. And no more of the PRT. So I believe that's it as far as the examination phase. Once you pass through all of those examination phase, then we'll assign you to a background investigation. Again, I have to stress, when I do assign you to a background investigator, that you fill out the PHS as soon as possible, because the quicker that you fill out that particular form, the quicker that I can get your investigation completed. We have processed individuals that have applied for the position, and I have processed and hired them within 10 days. So even though you hear federal agencies say that it may take 2 to 3 months to get an applicant hired on the department, that's not true. I stress, the process is really in your hands on how fast you move about by providing us the information that we request from you. We will do our part to get you through that process, but it will be the applicant that will hold up the process. So if they're really interested, I just stress that they fill out that PHS statement as soon as possible once it's received, and we'll make sure that the background investigation and the hiring process is expedited.
Okay. Officer Barr, question for you. James wanted to know, how can he get in contact with you because he's interested?
Okay, James, I'm gonna give you my cell right now. Are you ready? It's 202-809-8514. You can text or call me, whatever time's best for you, and we can speak about the details and your eligibility for the transfer process.
Thank you.
Jackie, can I just butt in just for a second? Inspector Moore did just such a phenomenal job at explaining the process. But if I can just brag for just a minute here, I want to put this out there to all viewers and listeners. In today's economic climate, we know that people are really looking for a means to take care of their families, their children, their loved ones. Capitol Police right now is the highest paid federal law enforcement agency in the country. So we know the reality of folks need jobs. They need to be able to support their families. And what better way to provide public service to the nation, not just the community in Washington, D.C., but to the nation as we service all members of Congress than doing it for the United States Capitol Police. But I know there was another question that came up, I think, for Officer Barr, but I just had to put that out there. We are the highest federal paid law enforcement agency in the nation.
And that's great to hear. Like you said, with prices of everything increasing, people want to know that they can take care of their family when they transition or when they're looking for a new career. So to hear that, I know is like great news to people's ears. Question from Jody: can I apply if I am a permanent resident? Previous Canada Customs Border Patrol Service officer. Another great question.
So you have to be a U.S. Citizen to apply. You cannot be a permanent resident or have a visa. You have to have your citizenship, and then once you complete that, you're able to reach out and apply for our federal officer position.
Thank you, Officer Barr. Inspector Moore, really quick, when you were talking about the process, you mentioned that it was 10 days, but you also mentioned that there was like a written exam that applicants had to do. Is that something that they need to study for?
Yes, so we provide you with a study guide. Once you get to that phase, once you finish taking the orientation video, we provide you with a study guide for that particular examination. After you receive the study guide, my team will reach out to you just to see if you're ready to be scheduled for that particular examination. It's no pressure, but the written examination is not nothing to be scared of. It's your normal arithmetic, reading comprehension questions. So a lot of people are kind of, they hear written examination and they get a little nervous to say, okay, well, I need to, need more time. I just, recommend just reviewing the study guide. If you have any type of questions, to reach out to my recruiting team, Officer Barr. He can walk you through and give you more pointers that you need as far as if you need some type of advice for that particular written examination.
Thank you so much for answering that, because when you said it, the first thing that popped in my head was, this is going to be a hard test. So do I need to study for it? So it's good to know that, again, a study guide is provided, which makes the process a lot easier, which would explain how, a 10-day period of being hired can happen. Yeah. So thank you so much. Question.
If I can stress too, when you fill out the PHS statement, I just, please do not minimize any information. Make sure that you put everything down that you can think of. We will give you another chance if you do forget some items with the questions that they ask you about, maybe prior drug use, prior criminal driving record histories. Just don't minimize any type of information, and don't automatically think that it's going to disqualify you from the process. You just have to go through the process, because we have suitability standards, but what you may have done in the past may not be against our suitability standards. So again, just be upfront, honest. That's the only thing I can stress as well.
So is it better to overshare than undershare?
It's better to overshare because it will be found out. So yes.
Okay. Good to know. If somebody is in Richmond, Virginia, I actually used to live there, and they're watching right now and they're like, hey, I'm really interested. Do I have to relocate? Do they have to?
The majority of our officers work out of Washington, D.C. So yes, the short answer would be yes. You would have to relocate unless you're going to commute from Richmond to Virginia daily, and you're able to do that and make it to roll call on time. Other than that, yes, you would have to relocate. Definitely.
What time is roll call?
It depends. Our agency works on. We have three primary shift schedules: 7 to 3, 3 to 11, and 11 to 7. So you would be on one of those shifts out of the academy with our Uniform Services Bureau.
Okay, makes sense. I heard roll call and I'm like, is that 6 o'clock in the morning? Because I know a lot of people. Like I said, before moving to DC, I actually lived in Richmond, Virginia, so I know a lot of people who actually make the commute. But I don't know if that's the commute I want to make at 6 o'clock or before 6 o'clock in the morning if roll call is at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, we do have some roll calls that are at 6 o'clock and some at 5. It just depends on which shift that you receive.
And just random question, thinking about the pandemic, a lot of jobs did move virtually or telework. Is there any opportunities for virtual or telework opportunities with the United States Capitol Police?
Not as a sworn position. As a sworn position, you have to be there daily and present, because it's a face-to-face, you know,
Yeah,
job.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
you have to deal with the public, so you can't virtually deal with the public.
Yeah, definitely understand. But had to ask because I know people are like, well, everybody's moved virtually and we're doing things different. So, just wanted to clear the air on that.
I
Let's see.
can just add a little bit to that. From the civilian perspective, so as the Assistant Chief of Protective and Intelligence Operation, I have quite a number of civilian employees that serve under me. So we do have several positions that offer some telework options in that regard. Inspector Moore is absolutely right. From a sworn perspective, it's really kind of personal. We're here to service the congressional community, and that requires everyone to be at some point on Capitol Hill.
Mhm.
But from some of our investigative positions, particularly those analysts, there are some opportunities to work remotely. So once that person had completed their probationary year and they may go into some of those specialty assignments, there are some hybrid options there for those employees.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Pittman. James asked a question, and I think it was, how long is the training in Georgia?
So I'll take that. Our training process, I'll just run through the entire process for anyone else who may have training questions. It's approximately 37 weeks. That's our entire process broke down into 4 distinct phases. So initially, you would have a 2-week orientation that would take place at our academy outside of Cheltenham, Maryland. It's kind of your introduction into the world of federal law enforcement. You receive ID cards, and it's important to keep in mind that you are on the payroll from day one of that orientation. Um, for those first 2 weeks, for residents who are coming from out of town, you are responsible for your own living situation for those initial 2 weeks. Next, you would move to Glencoe, Georgia, which the individual just mentioned. That is the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. There, we do take care of your housing, all of your food expenses, as well as your clothing and equipment, and we continue to pay you that full starting salary. So you kind of have a 3-month buffer to set you up before you return back to Cheltenham, Maryland for the final 14 weeks of agency specific training. And that's where candidates or recruits learn our policies and procedures and what they need to implement on a day to day basis working for our agency. Finally, when you graduate the academy, you enter the workforce on Capitol Hill in our PTOP program. So that's 8 weeks long. You're accompanied with a veteran officer. So it's very important. We send our officers out after training, and you're accompanied with someone that you can bounce ideas off of. It helps you build your confidence and make sure that your decision making is solid and you're able to implement those training practices that we taught you at the Training Services Bureau. You're able to successfully implement them into the workday on Capitol Hill.
Okay. When you,
Excuse me, Ms. Jackie. Officer Barr, if you could, you touched on it a little bit, but could you tell our viewers and listeners what U.S. Capitol Police's starting salary is? Because I think that's going to be key.
Yeah, so right now our starting salary is 73,852. That doesn't take into account any of the other incentives we have, such as night differential. So the salary fluctuates based on working later in the evening, midnight differential, holiday pay. So you see that 73,852, but it would be kind of impossible to stay at that number. you're looking well over that number, even for your first year. And officers 2 and 3 years into the department are definitely into these six figures for sure. Um, we
Again, when you
uh,
talk about everything going up, I mean, to hear that's the starting salary, and then like you said, you can move well up very soon. I mean, that's great news. Like
Yeah,
great.
as Chief Pittman mentioned earlier, we are the only federal law enforcement agency under the legislative branch, so we do not follow the executive's GS pay scale. We kind of have what's referenced as a law enforcement specific scale that we follow. So the numbers you would see on the GS pay scale are slightly different than what we have the ability to make within our agency, which is a huge perk with our department. And that doesn't mention the tuition reimbursement of $80,000, transit incentive programs, wellness programs. So our agency does a great job of setting itself apart with the benefits that we have to offer.
Yeah, love to hear it. Quick question. When we're talking about going into the training group, let's say I get hired on 10 days. I know some employers will make you wait a few weeks or wait a few months before they put you into a training group. Is that the same way with the United States Capitol Police, where I get hired on and then I may have to wait a few months or a few weeks to get into a training group to actually start that training process?
So currently, our classes are kind of set up every month.
Okay.
I have some classes that are a week apart from each other. So it just depends on what month that you actually get hired on.
Okay.
I would just say the longest, if you do get hired, would be a month that you'll go into training.
All right. Sounds good. I think any and everybody can deal with a month.
Yes.
That's
And
pretty.
if I can add on for one of the benefits for the federal lateral program for individuals that want to transfer, we are also offering a $10,000 retention bonus for that group as well. So you will receive $5,000 upon signing on, and then another $5,000 once you finish the training. So just something to think about.
And one more one more thing to add about the application process that Inspector Moore went through a bit earlier. One of the benefits of having we have kind of a hybrid application process. So as she said, the initial stages are virtual. You're able to start those stages while you're in your final year of college, for example, or while you're in the transition leaving the military as well, if that would fit you. The good part about that is we can kind of eliminate any gap in whether it's downtime between graduating college and starting your career or transitioning from the military into the field of law enforcement. So that is the benefit of having a hybrid virtual experience to start the initial application process. We can eliminate a lot of things so we can kind of line that transition up so that it's more beneficial to the applicant.
Okay, sounds good. Before I let you all go, I have one question that I think is so important when we talk about transitioning or even starting a new career. It's what do you love about your career, what you're doing? Because that's the thing that keeps you there. So, Chief Pittman, I'll start with you. What do you love about your role?
I love about my role that I'm able to help people at their most vulnerable times in need. And that's whether it's internally within the agency or externally when we're serving members of the community, whether it's in the surrounding Washington, D.C. area, or if I get a call from a chief of staff of a member who may have threats directed toward them, their families are uncomfortable. The services that we are able to provide here are really helping people during their time of need. I would say, secondly, the mentorship that we're able to give young women and men on this agency. All of us on this platform, Officer Derek Barr, who I've known for many years, phenomenal officer, Inspector Moore, we all are standing on the shoulders of so many individuals that came before us. And we have a robust program here that we encourage our folks to give back to all of the employees within the agency. And we're building on those programs every day. I absolutely love that every day is different. You never know what president you might see from another country. There's state funerals, just all of the world leaders convene here in Washington, D.C., and specifically at the United States Capitol to conduct business. And it's something that we're very proud of. tradition here, the history of the institution. It's just something that it's hard to even put into words. But those are some of the things that I love about the job.
Thank you. Officer Barr, what are some of the things that you love about your role?
Um, my initial 13 years being a part of so many different historic events, the inauguration of the first African American president, being assigned to that protection detail, being with the Pope during his visit to Washington. A lot of those historic events were amazing experience that I never thought, coming from where I came from, that I would have the opportunity to do. Now being in this Office of Background Investigations and Credentialing, having the opportunity to reach out to people who are interested in this field and sharing my experiences and assisting them through the process, and actually seeing the process unfold, and then letting them know that they're making it through, is it's just an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, I can only imagine some of the moments that you all have been able to be a part of. Literally, like just things that we'll be talking about for years to come. So, I just hearing you say that is just like, wow, that is an amazing thing to be a part of. So I can only imagine, and just thinking about things to come, like that's an amazing thing to be a part of. Inspector Moore, what are some things you love about your role?
Um, well, now that you have me sitting back reflecting, so so I can just think back. When I came on the department, I was a civilian, so I didn't come on the department wanting to be an officer. But once I got on the department and I saw the officers, I saw what the mission was for the department. I wanted to join the department and be a part of the solution and be a part of the mission as well. So when I joined the department, I had many opportunities. I always wanted to make sure that I kept my head straight. I wanted to move up in rank, just to make sure that I did things that others did not have the opportunity to do that came before me. And I can just remember when you say what I love about the role, when it hit me was I can think about 9/11, the day of 9/11. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. And I remember, and I'm saying this to the listeners and the viewers, because I don't want you to just think that this is just a role that you're going to have every day is going to be an easy day, because it's not. So you have to be sure about what you want to do. And I remember that day as, like I said, as it was yesterday, and you hear exactly what's going on your radio. And the first thing is you look around and it kicks in that your job is to protect these people. You're hired, you're a U.S. Capitol Police officer, not just for you to run out the door. Your job is to make sure that you evacuate all of these buildings and make sure that your visitors, your staff, your congressional community is safe. So all of that adrenaline kicked in, and that particular day, I knew I was doing something that I wanted to do. I went home, I was proud of what I did. And every single day, that's something that you go to work every single day with that same mission, that same pride, that same motivation. Fast forwarding into my role now, as the overseer of the background investigation, I must say I enjoy coming to work every single day, because I feel like my job is to make a difference for the department. My job is to make sure that we hire those qualified applicants, to when they come on the department, that this department is going to be different from where I started. I want to make sure that we have that diverse workforce, that anybody on this platform that's listening, that you have someone at that department that represents you. So that is my passion right now. So like Officer Barr said, we enjoy making sure that happens on a daily basis.
Yeah, yeah. I can just hear the passion in everybody about what you're doing, and I absolutely, and I'm sure our viewers absolutely love to see it and absolutely love to hear it, because when you talk about, again, being in a role where you have to serve or you have to protect, you want to love what you do, and I can tell each and every one of you do just that. You love what you do. So, and it's good to know that there are people here who love their jobs, that are out here serving and protecting. So thank you all for loving what you do each and every day. Chief Pittman, Inspector Moore, Officer Barr, thank you so very much. There are a number of positions I know that people can get into and a lot of different qualifications. So before I let you guys go for real this time, where can people get information on opportunities and how they can apply?
So you can go to our website, uscp.gov /careers. On there, you can find all the information about the current vacancies that we have, and click on the vacancy. It'll give you a rundown of the specifics and what's necessary in order to apply for that vacancy. If you want any information past that, go ahead and call my office in recruiting, or just call the general recruiting number, and they will send you back and we can discuss any details that you would like, my perspective, things that I've dealt with, or how to kind of build your own path forward, and how I can assist you with that as well.
Awesome. And if you missed what he said, down below, there's a ticker that has the information there. You can apply now at uscp.gov /careers. Thank you all so very much for taking a few seconds to hop on and talk about United States Capitol Police, what you all do and who you all are looking for. I appreciate it. I know the DMV and everybody watching appreciates it. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.